Hello, cats and kittens. Orewa Jose Yoroshiku. I'm chiming in with my impressions of One Piece, chapter 912, or 912, entitled Braided Hat Village. Or the village hidden in the braided hats, or however you want to put that. Anyway, I apologize in advance if you can hear frogs croaking in the background because apparently there are a bunch of frogs in my backyard that are croaking incessantly. There's that. So if you can live with that, so be it. The chapter is pretty cool from a standpoint of character development. The opening bits with Luffy speaking to, I want to get his name right. Luffy speaking to Hitetsu. I believe that's how his name is pronounced, Hitetsu. Um, Luffy, Hitetsu gets on Luffy for callously blurting out that Ace is dead. Tama has been waiting for Ace to return. Uh, Luffy asks pointedly, "Are you talking about Porcus D Ace?" She says yes, and he's like, "He's dead. He's not coming back." I look at that a few ways. Luffy blurts it out quickly and not with much, what you would say, emotion or whatever. That's either saying that he's come to terms with it, or he's he's just saying it because he doesn't know any other way to tell somebody that the guy that you're waiting for is dead. Now it's impactful to him, of course, because that's his brother, but he just says it. He's dead. He's not coming back. Uh, Tetsu gets on him and he's like, what are you, an idiot? You can't find a better way to tell somebody something like that? Because Tama passes out at that point. She can't believe it. She says he's a liar. Ace has to be coming back, but Luffy's already been through that. I believe he made his peace with that, but at the same time, somewhere later in the arc, I think those emotions are gonna come back up because he's revisiting his brother's past in a sense. So I thought that was an interesting exchange. After Tama passes out, he gets into it with Tetsu and get some background on the country itself. As I said, this is the Braided Hat Village, as I like to say, the village hidden in the braided hats. Yeah, shout out to Naruto. Apparently, it's a country that has been decimated by Diaz Drake, or ex Drake, who is apparently one of the headliners for Kaido. Well, we know that some of the Novas joined in with Kaido after he happened upon them after falling from the sky. He probably just laid it down to him. Look, either you get down with me and join my crew as underlings, or you getting beat down. Beat down or killed. You see what happened to Kid. He likely Kid did not accept the offer and paid the price for it. He's locked up, beaten half to death. That's what you get for trying to run up on Kaido. Alright, so Drake accepted the offer and became a henchman. Okay, he's a headliner. Now, the pecking order with Kaido's crew seems to be pleasurers on the lower tier, gifters, headliners, and then calamities, or disasters. So that's to say that Drake is a step below a calamity. That's interesting. Or should I say, as of a year ago when he decimated the village, he was a headliner. Now that's interesting because it had been my thought that he was a calamity. Like it happened in a year, I still hold out that he might be a calamity. Now, getting back to Hitetsu, I'm curious as to actually, is he a Tengu or is he just wearing a mask? It looks like he's wearing a mask, but he has the appearance of the creature from Japanese lore, the Tengu, the big nose, the wings, he just looks like he's a Tengu. Is he, or is he just wearing a mask and are the wings fake? I don't know. But anyway, he's a swordsmith. Hitetsu of Mount Tengu, collector of beautiful Tifu dolls. I can't read that really. Anyway, he's a collector of these little dolls. Okay, I don't even know how to get into that. But another interesting thing is they Tama and Hitetsu did not know that Ace was dead. That tells you how isolated this country, or at least this village, is. Ace's death, the war at Marineford, was the biggest news in the history, probably, or one of the biggest events in the history of the One Piece world. You're talking about the death of a Yonko, the death of Porcus D. Ace, who turned out or was revealed to be the son of Goldie Rogers, the revealing that Luffy is the son of Dragon, the Revolutionary. All of these things came out and they didn't know. So clearly these people are isolated. I'm gonna get into that later because that's a bit of a blow to me. They said that Wano was an isolated or restricted, a closed off country, but they're isolated to the extent that these two didn't know what happened in the war at Marineford. That's very strange. Kaido decimates Wano. He and the Shogun take over the country after killing the head of the Kazuki clan, which was Momonosuke's father, and basically decimate everything except for the capital, if I'm understanding this correctly, and they assume control. Now, this to me is a conundrum because we were told earlier in the story that Wano was an extremely powerful land filled with samurai, so strong to the point that they did not come under the authority of the world government. This doesn't jibe to me a little bit because Kaido only came to Wano within the period of the time skip or somewhere around there. Now, as we're getting into this story, we find out that the Ace Pirates got to Wano 4 years ago, about 4 years ago, which would mean about a year after One Piece year. In One Piece years, the current year is 1524. I had to look at our timeline. So that means that Ace got to Wano in 1520, which was a year after he left Fusa Village, left Luffy and set sail. About a year after he set sail, he forms the Spade Pirates, and within that time period, about that year, he gets to Wano. When he joins the Whitebeard Pirates, I don't know. I looked as hard as I could. I don't know when he joined the Whitebeard Pirates, but he gets to Wano within a year, maybe a year and a half of when he sets his sail from his home village. Okay. When he arrives in Wano, he tells the story about, or Tama tells the story, or Hitetsu tells the story of how the Spade Pirates landed in Wano. They faked like they were captured so that they could share their food with the inhabitants of the village hidden in the Straw Hats, and basically showing them a kindness, sharing their food with them for all intents and purposes, because the village at that time was impoverished. It wasn't destroyed on account of Kaido, because Kaido hadn't gotten there yet. They were impoverished, which again makes me wonder, was the entire land impoverished, or was it just this specific village? And if so, how did they get to that state? Some of this is just kind of confusing to me because, again, this is this big, powerful land of Wano, but you have this village. Maybe it's just a small, inconsequential village, and they just fell on hard times and were weak. I don't know, but they were impoverished. So the Spade Pirates share their food with them. Ace befriends Tama, promises that he was going to come back and take her to sea with him because she wanted to go to sea. with the Spade Pirates, but he says, "Look, I'll come back, and when you become a strong Kunoichi, I'll take you with me." Ace was to Tama what Shanks was to Luffy. That's what it looks like to me. The brash figure that inspired Luffy to want to be a pirate was Shanks, and it seems to be the same way Tama to Ace, except for Ace died and he's gone, and that kind of, to me, that's in Luffy's mind. It's kind of in his mind. He's probably looking at her in that sense and remembering Shanks is why he shows her such kindness. He even put his hat on her, which is unheard of. I mean, how many people has he done that with? Very few. Nami, maybe a couple other people. I mean, he's showing her a whole lot of kindness. Tama is sick. Luffy wants to take her to a doctor. Okay, this is an impoverished land. He's got to take her somewhere to find help because she's feeling sick. So he there's an interesting scene where Hitetsu, he gives him a kimono, and Luffy wanted some battle armor, but Hitetsu was like, "That's ridiculous. You stick out. You just take this kimono." Then Luffy grabs a sword from Hitetsu. It says, "I'm gonna take this sword too because it looks samurai." He wants to look like a samurai. It seems like the garb or sword. If he has a kimono, well, this is the land of the samurai. I'm gonna take this sword. Hitetsu was like, "Hey, wait a minute! You can't take that sword. It's cursed." Luffy doesn't even pay any attention to that. Then Hitetsu tells him, "It's one of the 21 great grade swords. Its name is Nidai Kotetsu." And Luffy's reaction is, I seem like I heard that name before. Your man got that sword. He got Sandai Kotetsu. Your boy has that sword. And that just shows you what kind of guy he is. He's little details like that float past his notice. So that's classic Luffy. So Oda even does a little callback to the sword grades, and you can go to One Piece Wiki and get the lowdown on the sword grades, the 12 supreme swords, the 21 great swords, and the 50 skillful swords. You can do that on your own time. Anyway, he takes Nidai Kotetsu and he's off. Now, interestingly, Hitetsu tells Luffy that if he runs across, apparently he can gain some assistance from his allies if he needs it, as he's going off to find hospital and food for Tama. But I don't recall him saying exactly how he would notice them, or is he supposed to drop his name? Because Hitetsu says he can't go with them because reasons. Now my theory is that he's wanted, and if he showed his face in town or anywhere, any populated area, he'd either be killed or whatever. He's to go back a little bit. When Luffy took the Nidai Kotetsu, and Hitetsu told him, "No, you can't take it." Luffy wanted to trade the Nidai Kotetsu for the sword that Hitetsu was carrying. And he said, "No, you can't take this either. This is a named sword." He never said what the name was. Now that's suspicious. I suspect that sword is either probably one of the 12 supreme grade swords, if I had to guess. All of this spells the fact that Zoro is going to get a new sword. Now, what's going to happen to the Sandai Kotetsu? Is it going to be destroyed and he's going to need another one? Is he going to hand it down to somebody and just replace it? I don't know. And then going back to Hitetsu, the sword the fact that he's a swordsmith to me says that he's going to make a sword for somebody. Now, it's probably not going to be for Zoro, I don't think. Not likely, because it seems like Nidai Kotetsu is going to Zoro. Then he'll have 3 of the great grade swords. That would make sense. The sword that Hitetsu is carrying, he says he also that he's waiting for someone. Who is he waiting for? I mean, is he waiting for Mihawk? Is he waiting for the true king of the true emperor of Daimyo or whatever of Wano? Is he's waiting for them for what? To make them a sword? To give them a sword? I mean, to me, it seems like he's got some. There's something to that. Clearly, there's something to it. What exactly, I'm not sure. But he's holding out information for a reason. What reason? We'll find out. So after leaving Hitetsu, Luffy takes Tama and rides off into the wilderness, off into this bamboo jungle. She wakes up and they have this conversation where Tama reveals to Luffy more information on, or just information on Ace when he was in the country. She keeps insisting that he's a liar and that Ace is coming back. Luffy never tells her that he's Ace's brother, his sworn brother. For what reasons? Again, he might just be holding that back because it's painful to speak about, or whatever reasons. I still say he's come to terms with it to an extent, but he's not in denial in any way, I don't think, but it's just not something that he really wants to get into anyway. So as they're heading towards out of the bamboo jungle, they come upon the wasteland, which is just what Tetsu said. There was out the country is a wasteland, and they see all of these creatures running around, mixed creatures, mutated creatures, and Luffy's point is, hey, there goes meat right there. Let's just kill some of those and eat them. Tama tells him basically that these animals drink poison water and therefore are poison themselves, which probably shouldn't be a problem for Luffy because he's been poisoned by Magellan and all kinds of other things. He's probably got a pretty strong resistance to poison. Anyway, they're going about their business and they hear, I think it's a woman crying for help, or someone saying "Stop, woman!" And Luffy, a woman's being robbed. He hears people saying "Stop, woman!" He immediately thinks it's Sanji, which is funny. It turns out that a woman was being robbed by somebody, it seems, and Zoro actually comes in, defeats the bandits, and rolls them for their sake. Okay, Luffy finally makes out that this is Zoro, his boy, and this is my favorite moment in the entire chapter is when they're reunited. It's like Lennon and McCartney getting back together. You know what I mean? It's Luffy and Zoro. That's the basis of the Straw Hat crew. And my favorite part is when Luffy basically just jumps into his arms and hugs him. That would make the third person, if I'm not mistaken, that I've ever seen Luffy hug. Shanks, Sabo, and Zoro. That's it. I mean, outright hug. You know, they're boys. You know what I'm saying? That got me. That was just joyful to see. And they exchange, pleasantries and so forth, and they realize that the animals have been poisoned and they shouldn't eat them. Luffy says this while he's eating one of these poisoned animals, and Zoro makes a comment, "Oh, that's why my stomach's hurting, because he's been eating poison animals too. These guys are like two peas in a pod." From there, as they're having this conversation, who should show up with Basil Hawkins? Hawkins basically says, two of my men and one, I think two of his men, his subordinates, and one of their animals, the hee have gone missing, and apparently there's a 98% chance that it was you. Okay, and to my mind, Hawkins does not need to roll up on those two. They're way too strong for him. Not to say that he's necessarily going to fight them. I don't think he will because he's smarter than that. But we're left at a standoff. Uh, my thinking is that he's going to not necessarily he's going to talk to them because he's not a rash person. Even the statement that he makes in the final panel, he says, "When in Wano, one joins the strong, or one spends their life running from them. Choose." Now, my thinking is he's going to have a confab with Luffy and Zolo, and since I don't recognize any of those henchmen that are with him as being of the Hawkins pirates, he might kill them so that he can have a minute to talk to Zolo and Luffy. He might. All I'm saying is because if they are actually Kaido's men and he tries to parlay with Luffy and Zolo, they would be obligated to report that to Kaido or the Shogun, and then he would be in trouble. So it would be easier for him to off his side men, and say, "All right, let me talk to you guys. This is where it's at." Because honestly, he joined Kaido to save his own neck, but that doesn't mean that he's comfortable just being subservient to Kaido, and that's just the end of it. I'm just going to be a henchman for Kaido indefinitely. Kind of like Beige back in Whole Cake Island. Although Beige was crazy, and then his assassination plan was purposeful from the get-go. Hawkins got put in a spot where he had to join him at that moment or he would be killed. So there's a little difference. Beige was plotting an assassination. Hawkins was probably just caught up in the game and said, "All right, well, let me play the percentages and live. And now that I run into these two, let me see what they're doing, and if what they're doing supports my chances of living, I'll throw in with you." That could be the case, or they might fight. But if they fight, Hawkins is going to... I'm not going to say he's going to die, because, the Straw Hats don't generally kill people, but he's not going to win. I mean, he's a headliner. Pound for pound, if you look at the crew strengths, I'm assuming that one of Kaido's calamities or disasters would be equal to one of Big Mom's sweet commanders. If that's the case, he's less than. He's dealing with two guys who are arguably approaching or at the strength of one of Kaido's calamities or one of Big Mom's sweet commanders. Two of them. True, we haven't seen Zolo actually have to sweat and really put up a good effort yet. But, I mean, be honest, he's not that far off from Luffy. He just hasn't shown it yet. And he will eventually. So if Hawkins fights these guys, he's dead. And he's probably not dumb enough to try that. So that's where we are until a week. We're on a break. So until we come off a break, we're stuck with that cliffhanger. The impending death of Basil Hawkins. So that's a great chapter. It was a great chapter. It moved along. It gave us some history. It filled in some blanks in the timeline, and also advances the story. So it was a great chapter. Looking forward to the next one. And I got a few upcoming. I'm going to be posting a list of strongest probably One Piece characters with my editor-in-chief. We'll see how that goes. And also, I've got I've got stuff that can fill in next week since we're on break. But again, this is a great chapter, and look forward to the next one. And until then, stay loose.